Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am so excited about today's hair tutorial because I have teamed up with Tricky Hair Extensions to show y'all how I like to apply hair extensions to my head, the order that I put them in, the way that makes them fit and most comfortable for my style, and what I do to make them look the most natural and blend in with my hair. Now, whenever you get hair extensions, I definitely recommend taking them into your stylist, having them cut, having them layered, and doing your hairstylist can make them fit and mesh into your natural hair in the most natural way possible. That is the best experience I've always had with hair extensions, is when I do have them cut and styled to fit my natural hair. However, I really wanted to make a video showing y'all how I like to blend in hair extensions that are not trimmed to my natural hair, because these hair extensions that I'm wearing today are fresh out of the box. They've never been used before. They are not cut, trimmed, they're not heat styled, not treated, they're not color treated. These are just fresh out of the box, how you would get them if you ordered them online. And I wanted to show you all my tips and tricks and what I recommend doing to make them work for you. So the hair extensions I'm using today are these guys right here. These are the Tricky hair extensions. These are 18 inches long. They're 120 grams, and mine is in the shade called Strawberry Blonde, which is number 27. And this particular set comes with 18 wefts, which have different clips on each weft depending on what length they are. And these ones retail for $135 for the entire set, and it does come with all 10 wefts. So today I'm only going to be using probably like 7 wefts in my hair. I don't use the full 120 grams of hair in my head. I do have a smaller sized head, like the actual head and crown of my face is smaller than most people. I am a smaller person. I'm 5 feet tall. I'm 100 pounds, so I don't generally have the ability to use like a ton of hair. If you have like really long ones that are super duper thick, then you could probably use more wefts. Or if you generally have a larger head or a lot of hair. I have pretty long hair, but it's not extremely thick. So I like to stay more on the lighter side of my extensions. That way I can make sure everything blends really well, everything looks nice and natural. Because while I love using hair extensions and I love using like synthetic beauty products like fake nails, fake hair, fake lashes, I do want things to look fairly natural. So I'm not going to use all 10 wefts today, but I'm going to take you guys through step by step, show you where I place the hair extensions for my head size and my head shape. And I find these videos super helpful because a lot of the time I notice that people are using all of the hair extensions, or they're showing you like how many hair extensions they can fit in their hair, and I feel like they don't always blend that way. Or when I see people make these videos on YouTube where they're doing that, that doesn't actually work for me because I have a smaller head. So if you guys have a smaller head, or if y'all are having issues with getting your hair extensions to blend, I am excited to show you guys how I do it and give you guys some tips and tricks on what works best for me. So to start off applying the hair extensions, I like to start with the back of my head, and I will brush out my hair and I will pin up the top layer of hair. When I pull up the first section, I'm going to grab the majority of my hair so that all that's left on the nape of my neck is a very thin piece of natural hair. And we're going to do a layering technique that's going to consist of natural hair, hair extension, natural hair, hair extension. So we're gonna layer one on top of another, but in order to fit the most amount of hair extensions on my smaller head, I'm gonna be using extremely thin layers of hair. So for the next section, I'm going to be pinning up less hair than I did before, revealing more of my natural hair at the bottom of my neck. And then I'm going to attach the next size of hair extension. Now for the bottom layer, I had to do a 3-clip weft, but for the next section, I get to do a 4-piece. And the reason why I can fit a 4-piece track on this section of hair is because the distance between my ears is larger than the distance on the nape of my neck. The further up my head I go, the more area I have to work with because my head is larger in width at that section. So I can do a larger weft. So with the back of my head, I have a 3-clip track, a 4-clip track, and then another 4-clip track. And then we're gonna move on to the front of my head. Okay, so now that I have 3 tracks in the back of my head, I have a 3-piece on the bottom and 2 4-pieces stacked on top of that. This is what the hair looks like from the front. Now, a lot of people stop at this point and will just leave it with the tracks going straight up the back of their hair and leave it alone. I don't like the way that that looks personally because I feel like you can tell here in the front that there's less volume, and I don't think that it blends very well. I do have more layered hair on the top of my head, which is pretty normal. Most people do have shorter layers on the top crown area of their head, which is going to make things a little bit more choppy and a little bit more difficult to blend. But I'm going to show you guys how I apply my hair extensions on the crown. Now, since I part my hair down this side, I do have more hair on this side of my head than I do on this side. If you part your hair down to a side, you're probably going to want to do more tracks on the side with more hair than the other side. Some people part their hair in the middle, so if you do part your hair in the middle, you probably do the same amount of tracks on each side, so everything's balanced. But all depending on like your haircut style and type, it's going to differ which tracks you use where. So I'm going to do one more track on this side of my head than I will on this side of my head. So what I do is I'm going to take a 3-piece track and I'm going to do a really large part on this side of my hair, and I'm going to go as far over until I hit the tracks that are the top layer of the 4-piece track. So I'm going to pull as much of that hair up as possible until I can feel where that track is, and just do like a teeny tiny sliver of hair on top of it. So my track is right here, right underneath my head, right underneath this top layer of hair. And I'm just gonna do this super thin little layer of hair on top of it. And then I'm gonna pin that out of my way. And then I'm gonna take a 3-piece and I'm going to stick this as far back as possible. I find this piece is a little trickier than my other ones because this back section for this back right here is hardest to blend. It tends to want to like stick up my hair a little. So that's why it's important to make sure that you're measuring everything out and you're making sure that there's little pieces of natural hair covering where there's synthetic hair. Now, because I have an ombre, you guys are gonna see that it's difficult for me to blend the hair up at the top of my roots. This is obviously a very different color here than here, but once I let all the hair down and I blend everything out, it looks pretty natural. So I'm gonna let this piece of hair go, and then this part right here, I'm gonna make sure that's flat. That's the trickiest part for me to blend, where those 2 wefts can line on top of each other. So we've got our 3-piece, 4-piece, 4-piece, and then another 3-piece here on the side. And I just wanna make sure that this 3-piece here on the side isn't clashing or getting tangled up with that top 4-piece. And it's nice and smooth, so we're good to go. So I'm gonna go in with a 2-piece and I'm going to do it on the very top. Now, I like to do it pretty far forward, closest to my face, because I feel like that's the easiest for it to blend with my hair down here. A lot of people avoid putting their hair extensions too close to their face, because if you're pulling pieces up or throughout the day, someone's little clip may show. So just make sure you're putting it in a spot where your natural hair will cover it, but I like to get it close enough to where I can get that framing and that structure in my hair. So that's where I'm gonna put it, and then I'm gonna let the hair go. And then we're good to go on that side. And you guys can tell now there's a lot more volume right here underneath my bang piece than there was before. Before you could see lots of little strands just kind of hanging out. This way it looks a lot more volumized and smooth. Now the only thing is that I want to make sure that this section here doesn't pop out and get noticed throughout the day, because this section here clearly doesn't blend as well as at the ends of my hair. So I'm just going to make sure I have that tucked far enough back to where it's not going to be noticeable. And then when we get onto the curling step of the process, you'll see that that blends a lot better too. So now that this side is really volumized, everything looks smooth and full. This side, I've got a little bit of scragglers going on. You can see how these pieces here are shorter and less volumized than this chunk back here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to take a 3-piece clip and I'm going to section off this top area of hair. And I always find that the last piece is the hardest to blend because you now have so many clips in your hair. You don't want any of the clips to overlap, because if you're clipping a clip on top of a clip, it's going to add a bump and it's going to look texturized, and you're going to be able to see that there's a bump on the back of your head where people are going to be able to tell that you have extensions. So with your last piece or anything on the crown of the head, you may have to play around a little bit till you can find a spot where it's going to sit flush against your scalp. And I always have to play with it. Like, I'll put it in, I'll let my hair down, I'll see how it looks, and then I'll take it out and move it around. So it may take a few times for you to find a spot that it sits the most flat, and that's okay. It definitely takes practice, and you're using hair extensions, which is not a super natural thing, so it can be tricky to make it blend. But once you practice and you get the hang of it, you'll be able to make everything look nice and smooth. Okay, so I'm wearing 6 tracks in my hair right now. That's all I'm going to be putting in my hair. This is what I would do on a regular day-to-day basis if I wanted to wear hair extensions just for work, or if you're just hanging out with girlfriends. Nothing too glamorous. This is like my everyday hair extension application. If I was doing something more formal or a special event, I would probably add more single tracks. So just like little skinny ones up in like the front of my hair, maybe more to frame my face and give my bangs more thickness, especially if you're doing some sort of style where you're pulling pieces of your hair back. You probably want more to give more volume up in the front. But I find that not overdoing it and keeping it nice and simple, only doing 6 tracks, makes it a lot easier for you to blend it. And I just like the way that this feels better because it's not as heavy on the hair, so I don't feel like I'm being like weighed down all day long. And I like the way that this looks. So I'm wearing a 3-piece on the bottom of the back of my head, a 4-piece on top of that, a 4-piece on top of that, and then on this side I have a 3-piece, a 2-piece, and then a 3-piece. And this is what it looks like. And you can see it gives a lot of volume. It does feel like fuller. My bang section here looks a lot thicker. And it does add a little bit of length, but as I said before, my hair isn't a lot shorter than these hair extensions are. I'm gonna show you guys what it looks like down here at the ends. These are bluntly cut hair extensions. So I have not had these trimmed or shaped or layered to fit in my hair. So you can see little pieces where there's hair extension and then there's my real hair. So you can see that my real hair is a little bit shorter than the hair extensions, and it doesn't look super smooth at the ends. It can look a little bit choppy if you don't get your hair cut to match your natural hair. So because this is what the ends look like, I don't like to leave my hair straight when I wear extensions. I don't feel like it blends very well. I don't think it looks very natural unless you take them in to have them fit to your natural hair at your hairstylist. However, I really wanted to do this tutorial today to show you guys how I make them blend, even though I haven't taken them in to have them cut. So my color is probably one of the most difficult colors to color match with hair extensions because I do have a melted ombre kind of balayage style going on with my hair, meaning my roots are much darker than the ends of my hair. So unless your extensions are as well melted to have darker at the base and lighter at the ends, it's going to be difficult for you to have them blend since the color at the top is going to be a different color than your ends. So as you can see here, this track blends really well with the ends of my hair, but not so much with the top because they're 2 different colors. Now that's not really a problem for me because I will just leave my hair down, it covers it up, and I'm going to curl the ends to make everything look really seamless. But if that's something that you're particularly worried about, I would probably search for a hair extension brand that does ombres or will do balayage techniques to their hair extensions. Those do cost a lot more money, and that's something that doesn't really bother me to have the color because I feel like it blends really well. But that's something you could definitely take into consideration. And what's really cool about these hair extensions is they do have a multi-tone color technique to them, which means that they actually have several different tones throughout the hair extension so that they will pick up on the color that's in your hair. Meaning eyes actually see patterns better than they're going to see something that doesn't match well. So naturally your eye is going to gravitate towards the colors that match well. And that's why there's so many different tones throughout the hair extensions so that your eye will pick out the color that matches best, and it's going to look a little bit more seamless and everything's going to blend better. I have hair that has several different dimensions, several different colors in it, so it's really easy for me to match them together because since there's so many colors going on, it just kind of looks like I have a lot of different highlights and lowlights. Okay, so when it comes to actually curling the hair, I'm going to take 2 sections of the hair, one on each side of my face, and bring everything forward. And then I'm going to take a curling wand. This is the NUME clampless curling wand, and I will leave all the details about this in the description box below if you're curious. And I just start at the back of my hair, and I only like to curl the ends for the most part for just making this blend. If you wanted to do a really glamorous look, you could definitely curl more than just the ends of the hair, but I find that just curling the last like 3 little wraps around the hair is plenty to make everything blend seamlessly. Something that's really important about this curling technique is that when you are grabbing pieces of your hair to curl, that you're grabbing a chunk that not only has your hair extension in it, but it also has your real hair. So that way when you're taking a section with both your synthetic and natural hair, you're wrapping them around the wand together. And what that's going to do is it's going to create a curl that connects the 2 pieces of hair together. That way you're not going to be able to see where one piece of hair starts and another one ends. And it's going to take away that choppy effect that I was showing you guys at the ends of my hair before. So after I let the curl sit on the iron for probably like 20 seconds, I will release it into my hand and I'll just hold onto the curl and let it cool off and set. And then I'll release it to the rest of my hair. I like to curl all of my pieces away from my face, so meaning all of the curls on the left side of my face, face left, all the curls on the right side of my face, face right. That way everything's framing my face and curling outwards. That's just the style that I prefer. I have other hair tutorials if you guys want to see different techniques of curling hair or what I do to curl my hair. This is just one of my favorite ways, and I think that this looks really classy and girly. Okay, so now that I'm finished curling one side of my hair, you guys are going to be able to see the difference. It's going to look a lot more volumized, of course. It's going to have more style to it because it is curled, but it blends a lot more seamlessly. The color on this side of my head looks a lot more even, a lot more natural than I find that the color looks on the side with my hair being straight. Also, now that the ends are curled, everything looks a lot more seamless down at the bottom. You're not seeing these really blunt, choppy ends like we were before. Everything's kind of meshed together, it flows, and it looks like my real haircut. Okay, so all I'm gonna do now is I'm going to take the remainder of my straight hair on this side of my face, and I'm going to continue the exact same method that I was doing on the other side of my face, only instead of curling that direction, I'm gonna be curling this direction. So I'm just gonna wrap the curls around, and I'm gonna curl this entire side, and I'll be back to show you guys what it looks like in just a second. All right, you guys, that's what the final look looks like now that my hair is all curled and styled. I absolutely love the way these extensions look and feel. I feel so glamorous in them. I think they're so much fun, and I think that the way that I put them in and the way that I styled them looks fairly natural. I use that word lightly because I know it's not natural, but to me, this looks really smooth, really sophisticated. I think that it looks like it could be my natural hair, and I really, really love the way that these look and feel. And another thing that I really like about the Tricky hair extensions is that they do curl really, really well. I've had hair extensions in the past that had like a wax coating on them and they did not curl as easily as these do, but these curl well, they hold curl well, and I'm just really happy with them. Thank you so much for watching. I hope y'all enjoyed this video and I hope it was helpful for y'all. Even if you don't choose to go with the Tricky hair extensions, I just hope you guys learned something from this and got some tips and tricks on how you can make your hair extensions fit in your head better. As always, I really appreciate your support, and I will have a lot of more details and information down in the description box below. If you guys want links, if you want to find me on social media, that is where you can find all that information. And thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys in a later video. Mwah!